So we just had our first 100-point Derby preps, so it's definitely time to take a look at a revised Kentucky Derby top 20 list, and there's definitely going to be some changes on this one for sure. We'll start with five at a time as we do, and we'll see that Seize the Gray is a new entrant. I like the Jeff Ruby. I thought he ran a pretty good race, second off the layoff. It was on synthetic, but his dirt effort coming off the bench was the one to me that tells me that this horse is on the come. And the fact that he's only had a couple of starts for the coach, I think is a positive. He certainly will need to run one more prep, I think, to have any chance to get in the Derby, I believe. I don't think he'll have enough points yet. So maybe the Lexington or just one other prep, and we'll see what we'll see. But Seize the Gray, I think, is kind of intriguing and looks to be, I think, progressing. And the fact that he's up near the pace type of runner certainly adds to the intrigue. Just a touch. Want to see what he does in the Wood Memorial, but coming off a maiden win, I thought he ran a nice Gotham. Want to see it around 2 turns, but has some potential for sure. Stronghold, want to see him against better company. We'll see what the Santa Anita Derby brings, but he will need to progress, I think, one more step to be a serious contender. Just Steel, I'm not really high on because I think he needs a break, but he is a horse that has been, the coach has been working well with him, and I think he manages his speed well. I'm just not sure that having run all the starts he has, that he could be fresh as a daisy for the Derby. But he is a good horse. We'll just have to see. Mystic Dan, I think the Arkansas Derby will probably breed him right off the list. I think he was mud-aided in the Rebel. I don't think there's much doubt about, or not the Rebel, the Southwest. And so I don't think he's long for this list. We get to our next 5. Encino, to me, is still pretty intriguing. I like that Battaglia, and I want to see him do it on dirt. We'll see where they move him, if it's the Bluegrass, the Arkansas Derby, wherever Brad Cox sends him. But I think this is a horse that's very interesting. He's a mid-pack runner, which, again, the horses that get closer to the pace, I think, may have a little bit of a tactical advantage, given the fact we have so many closers are the more prominent horses. Endlessly, I think this is more just a giving him credit for running a great Jeff Ruby. I don't think they're going to pursue him with the Derby, is my guess. Because he's more of a turf and synthetic type of horse. But who knows? Maybe they'll throw him on dirt, they'll get Derby fever, and give him a shot. But he's certainly a nice horse. No More Time. I didn't think the Tampa Derby was a bad race at all. I thought it was just, so funky because of the slow pace. I think this horse has some quality, but he's a cut below the better horses. And despite the fact that he is more of an early runner, at this point, he would need to take a step forward to be a real serious contender. Track Phantom ran his race in the Louisiana Derby, just wasn't good enough. I think maybe he hit the wall a little bit. Might have been the distance, could be. But I just think the others were better. That's really what it came down to. He just doesn't have that closing kick. He's a one-paced runner, and he had others who were running big late. But I think he's a quality horse, and the fact that he's an early runner does keep him as a contender on this list. He's kind of intriguing from that perspective. Domestic product, I think, is definitely improving. Chad Brown, is working his wonders, and he does plan. He has a very definitive plan for his horses, and he definitely made a move forward in his start in the Tampa Derby. So let's see what he does if they get one more prep under him, see what he can do from there. But I like the fact that he's running closer to the pace, and that tells me he's progressing. Kind of the same thing with Tuscan Gold we saw in the Louisiana Derby. So he's an intriguing prospect. Our top 10, Deterministic, want to see him do it around 2 turns. But coming off the bench and running the race that he did in the Gotham, I think he's shown a lot of potential. We'll just have to see what he can do around 2 turns, maybe in the Wood, I suppose, is where we'll see him next. But he's pretty intriguing. Forever Young, we'll see what he does in the UAE Derby. But the Japanese import, you'd have to like him pretty good because there's I think he'll be a horse that's closer to the pace without a lot of pace in this year's Derby so far. And pretty intriguing. Fierceness, let's see if he can rebound in the Florida Derby. All reports are he's training really well. So I think he's going to have a race that is his to lose. And he's going to have to do it, I believe, from the outside post. I've seen it in the Florida Derby. I haven't looked at it really closely yet. But if he can rebound and from that post, that'll be a big challenge at 1 1/8 miles at Gulfstream. So if he can run a big one there, then maybe we have to reconsider. But right now, a horse who doesn't handle adversity well, you can't like a whole lot for the Derby. But we'll see. Wine Stewart, please run sometime, somewhere, someplace. Very intrigued about him, but he's running out of time for me. One prep going into the Derby, I don't like the chances there very much. Dornoch, again, he moves down the list because that Fountain of Youth, the more I watch it, the more I just think this horse is kind of green. And the fact that Danny Gargan said he likes to wait for horses really bothers me. He is a front runner. He perhaps will have a tactical edge over we have so many late runners in this race. But I think this one, the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm thinking maybe he's a paper tiger. I don't know. I just didn't like that Fountain of Youth very much. Number 5 is Tuscan Gold. I really like that Louisiana Derby. You'd have to. A horse coming off a maiden win. He ran more forwardly placed, just like Domestic Product. And I think that's a sign of a horse who's progressing rapidly. Chad Brown, having him in your corner, you could do a lot worse. And again, being closer to the pace, if he can take another step forward, he's very intriguing. Anna Marie, I thought, ran just as good a race as Catching Freedom does. He just wasn't quite as good. But I think he is picking up where he left off at 2. And if he can, his third start off the layoff, he should be poised to run a really big Derby, and I like Anna Marie a lot. Catching Freedom, they've seemed to have solved the maturity issues, and he ran a monster Louisiana Derby. We knew he had some talent. I just wasn't sure if he could take a move forward given his greenness, but he ran so maturely last time, you'd have to be very optimistic about him going into the Derby. Timberlake ran a really nice Rebel Stakes coming off the bench, and again, tactically, being a runner closer to the pace, I think he looks awful good from this spot. And then Sierra Leone, I don't think Catching Freedom dethrones him yet. I thought his Risen Star was, in many ways, it might have been a little better than Catching Freedom did in the Louisiana Derby. Track Phantom had been pressed a little bit more than he was in the Risen Star. And so I think given that pace scenario, it does make a really impressive close out of what Sierra Leone did. And, given the Remsen where he had to do it there as well, I think there's a lot of quality here. And another one, Chad Brown is just loaded right now with Derby prospects. And I think, Catching Freedom looks to be his equal. And I will say this, I kind of like the turn of foot a little better with Catching Freedom from the two of them. Sierra Leone seems more of a grinder to me, but I'm not going to dethrone him off of that Louisiana Derby or what Catching Freedom and Anna Marie did. So if we look at our top 20, you'll see, look at that. Most of the runners are coming from off the pace, significantly off the pace. And that is going to make for a very interesting Derby from a tactical perspective. I'd have to like the horses that we're seeing who are moving forward more forwardly than they have been. Tuscan Gold, Domestic Product, most notably. I think that's a really good sign, particularly Tuscan Gold. To see that coming off a maiden, we just may have a sleeper there. So there've been a lot of changes. We're certainly going to have some more after this weekend coming up and the Bluegrass in 2 weeks. But it's taken more shape, that's for sure. But overall, if you look at this field, that bottom 10 is not so hot, really, in comparison to perhaps last year. So it seems like kind of a top-heavy class. we'll just have to see. But it's definitely taking greater shape after this last weekend.